Welcome back, Brown Girls. It's A'shanti, host of the Brown Girls Guide to Politics podcast. We're coming to you today with a special bonus episode. We're chatting with Tory Gavito, president and co-founder of Way to Win. In early March, I co-hosted an event with the Persist network, a new network bringing together women from all over the country who are dedicated to persisting in this moment. Today, Tory and I will chat about the event, why community is so important going into 2025 and beyond, and what you can do to stay involved. Tory, thank you so much for joining me today. We are excited to have you back on the podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, I am surviving. I'm surviving. This is a challenging time. I think anyone who is acting differently, is status quo, is not paying attention. So here we are.
Here we are. I know the last time we chatted, it was about Project 2025. And unfortunately, we are living under Project 2025. It wasn't the outcome that we hoped for. But during our discussion, we said that no matter what happens, we know that the work has to continue and that the work that will be led by women is going to become even more essential. And that is what we are talking about today, because the women are leading, they're doing the work, and yet again, they're going to be the ones to help save us during this crazy time. So for our people who unfortunately did not listen to the Project 2025 season, and you need to go back and listen to it because, like I said, we're living under it.
You warned us all, A'shanti. You warned us all. You demystified every piece of it, and here they are dismantling our government. It is insanity.
Yeah, I think at the time of us recording this, they're already a third of the way through everything that they wanted to accomplish. And these people move quick. It took Hitler 53 days to dismantle democracy in Germany. Mm-hmm. And we need to learn from the past. And I saw a really important fact the other day that it said that democracies are 7 times more likely to survive when there is a counter movement. So I know that is the work that you are doing, that all of us are doing, and that a lot of our listeners, they want to find out what can they do in this moment. That is the number one question I always get. If I'm doing an event, if I'm talking to a reporter, if I'm on a panel, what can we do in this moment? And I want for you to tell everyone about the work that you are doing at Way to Win during this important time in our history.
Yeah, we're a donor network that's focused on promoting political strategy that really bridges the left and the center. We understand when you look at mass movements throughout history that we win when we can forge coalition and forge more moral movements across a set of ideological backgrounds, diverse backgrounds. It's going to take everyone. So A'shanti, one of the things that we're working on primarily right now as we speak is really understanding 2024 a little bit deeper. What we have is men with memos who are quick to find their pens. They are quick to find their placements in op-ed pages in the New York Times and Washington Post and all these places, describing why they think Democrats lost in 2024, but doing so without all the data. We're still waiting for voter file data in a lot of places.
That part.
Look, we know in our bones. We know because we have brothers and uncles and fathers and cousins. Like, we know that there was erosion of a Democratic base. We know that there were people of color who were Trump curious this last cycle. We also know that there were a lot of people that were just fed up with Democrats, and it had nothing to do with moving towards Trump. And so if we know that in our bones, we're looking for the data to understand what the contours are, right? We estimate, and even this number, A'shanti, even the data gurus are saying, well, that can't be true. But let's just put into context. We know that there was some amount of vote switching,
Mm-hmm.
but we also believe that there are approximately, could be a couple million over, a couple million under, but approximately 19 million voters who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 and did not come back in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're curious about that. That's like, your base is gone.
Yeah.
That's like, there's a problem and it's inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about who switched sides and how we're going to maybe pander to those people. It's about understanding really why there's base erosion within the Democratic Party. And so we're commissioning a set of research on the 19 million, getting better grounded in how many people stayed home this last cycle, getting better grounded in why. And we believe that this is an important inquiry because the debates that we're seeing, whether it's among the pundits or the podcasters or just anyone on Twitter or Blue Sky, it's fueling the questions as to, should Democrats stand in resistance? Should Democrats fight against Trump? Or should Democrats find some concessions? Should Democrats find some ways to make friends with the right? I mean, my gosh, we have Gavin Newsom interviewing Steve Bannon right now. That's how far some of our Democrats think they have to go to court back a swing vote. We will not know the contours of that unless we get grounded in really understanding the data. So that's why we're moving forward with this research project, because we believe that it'll push folks into making some decisions about fighting back, some decisions about finding their moral ground. I don't think that vote switchers or folks that decided to stay home are thinking, we just need Democrats to pretend they're a little more Republican. I think what we're going to hear is, what are they actually fighting for? Just tell me who you are and what you stand for. Because some of the best performing Democrats right now are just really vocal that they care and they're just authentic. So anyway, that's what we're working on right now. And believe me, you'll be among the first to learn what we learn about that 19 or so million that stayed home between 2020 and 2024.
I am so excited because that is the information that we need. And I know we didn't get our big win with Vice President Harris. Otherwise, we'd be having a totally different conversation, which I wish we were having. But we did have some good wins and some good wins with women. I know here at the Emerge Network, we elected over 400 women to office. And those were women who understood their community, the people of their community, and they were able to speak to them. So I tell people that people still do believe in Democrats, our values, our candidates, but we do have to go through this death and a rebirth as a party, is how I'm referring to it, for us to grow stronger. And I know it's only going to make us better because people need us right now. They are looking towards the Democratic Party, those great elected leaders who are standing up to fight back, because these are very new times and we can't use the old school tactics right now. It's not going to help us at all. And I would just love to also hear, this research is going to be great, but what are some of the things you're hearing from people about meeting this moment? Because we know every year is an election year. We got big races coming up in Virginia, which is going to tell us a lot about the mood of the country, where people are. So these next few months are going to be intense in so many ways.
You said death and rebirth of the party. And that really, I think that's really resonant with me right now, in the sense that those elements of life, losing something and bringing something forth can be very painful. It can be joyous. There can be deep reflection. You can, find blessing in memory. All of that is true. And it's deeply painful. And I feel like, wherever I go, people are still a little bit in mourning, especially women. I mean, my goodness, being a woman of color in the immediate aftermath of Kamala Harris's loss was really painful. It's just a really painful place to be. And I think that's why events like the one we saw that you were a co-host of were so important, because it just allows us that space to cry a little, laugh a little, get into the chisme a little bit. And we have to just keep pushing, right? Like, I think that was what was so resonant for me about hearing Gloria Steinem is, my goodness, if anyone has seen death and rebirth and been a part of every cycle, it's Gloria. And why stop? What else would we be doing? We have to keep pushing. And so when I think about 2025, there are at least 3 places that pop into focus for me. There's the Virginia elections, which are always a bellwether. I think it'll be fascinating to see Abigail Spanberger and her returns. I also think that what an interesting referendum on what's happening in DC, with Virginia being in proximity to DC and of course having federal workers. And my gosh, if Youngkin didn't just really put his foot in his mouth when he's not showing any kind of empathy whatsoever to the families of federal workers. I mean, my understanding is the Beltway is a very dreary place right now, and every industry is impacted by the loss of jobs because of the destruction that Doge is bringing.
It's not great here.
Another woman running, right? Like Wisconsin's interesting with the Supreme Court race out there. And of course, I think the people are really rising up when they see Musk is pouring millions into their state. They're saying, not on my watch. Ben Wickler, the party chair of Wisconsin, has reported to me that the grassroots fundraising is gangbusters, which is fabulous.
Love
That's what we
it.
like to hear. Now, I will tell you the one area that gives me concern, which is New Jersey.
And the fact that we're talking about New Jersey, that lets people know things have changed.
Yeah. So this year's is an interesting one. And I think our job, the royal we, all the listeners, all the women of color who care about politics, all the women who care about politics, is to lean in 2025 on any grassroots effort you can find, whether it's helping give money, helping fundraise, helping a local candidate, going to local matters. Like, I think that part of Project 2025, part of Musk and Trump's design, is to figure out how much they can take away from us, including free and fair elections. And so if there isn't a groundswell of support for maintaining our norms around this off-cycle election, it sets up strange precedent for 2026 that when we all go into dark places, when we all see how much destruction there is of the Department of Education, EPA, our parks, just anything that we hold dear as an American society is being pushed to the brink right now. I know many of us consider, what does this mean for elections in 2026, which means we cannot give an inch on elections in 2025.
We cannot. We have to show up. And I want to talk about the Persist event.
Yes.
Talk about women showing up. I loved having you there. We had other organizational leaders. We had activists. We had content creators. So everyone, we held, in my opinion, a really fabulous event in New York at Diane Von Furstenberg's studio. And we had the Gloria Steinem, as a special guest. And we were also joined by Sunny and Anna from The View, who were amazing. And this coalition came out of the Women for Harris Walls group. Rhonda Fox, who was the women's director on the campaign, she wanted to keep the energy going because, as we've talked about on the pod, the energy was just off the charts during that election. We saw how excited people were about politics, and we literally had women leading the way. So with us not getting the win that we wanted, we didn't want to lose that energy. So the Persist Network has been created to give women the opportunity to gather and to be in community. And Gloria Steinem, she talks about how women need that oxytocin, that when we are together, we are just able to change the world. So I wanted to talk to you about the event and why was it important for you to be there and just some of your favorite moments. I know it just meant the world to me to see you there and other women leaders. And people said that they love seeing us there because it showed like how committed we really are to the work during this time when we got to be real. They're trying to scare a lot of us into not doing this work, into not speaking up. And I think a huge part of the resistance right now is having courage. And it took a lot of courage for us to be out there in the open, very bold, saying that we're going to meet and we're going to fight back. We're just not going to comply and let you take away our democracy and our rights as women.
Yeah. I thought the Persist event was incredibly important. And top of my mind is, it seems to me like there is a fair amount of conversation from sort of the mainstream outlets that is trying to point to the loss of the last election on kind of broadly this concept of wokeism. And, as if any Democratic candidate actually ran on a full woke agenda. We know that's not true.
Not true.
And even though it's not true, it's quickly becoming conventional wisdom. And in my mind, there are two reasons why the powers that be benefit from this backlash moment. One is around the movements for Black lives that were so important, continue to be important today, to rethink and to reclaim what it means, who gets to claim to be American. That was the whole point around the civil rights movement, was to be American, you get to vote. You have access to these different paths for upward mobility. And more people should have access to that. And so whole laws were written that pulled in the voting rights of Black people specifically and people of color more generally. Okay, so we see a rollback of that. But the other part that I don't think we're talking about enough is the backlash to the Me Too movement and women really saying there's a new paradigm and women really taking their place, not just bringing their folding chairs, but creating whole new tables, right? Women just creating whole new tables. And the swiftness by which the manosphere has become sort of a dominant cultural force, and the way that they are taking the headlines of even mainstream media is like, see, now we all live in the manosphere. We are living in this backlash moment. And I think there are women like me. I think I'm not alone in saying, I wonder about how bold I can be in a backlash moment. I wonder if I have to moderate or, claim some element of these movements went too far. But on the other hand, wait a second. Wasn't I just getting closer? Doesn't this backlash mean that we were onto something and that we were just getting closer than ever and we shouldn't be shy? And so I guess for me, it was important because this is a moment of reflection and this is a moment of backlash and this is a moment of fear to step into a room with hundreds of other women that I knew would be there. Many women of color, many trans women, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, all of our beautiful rainbow was there.
They were.
And just be like, you know what? You're not going to push me back. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I need to be with my sisters to do that. Like I need to listen. I need to meet new sisters to do that. The other thing, A'shanti, I would say of why it was important was none of us have done what we've done because we've bootstrapped it. I didn't build Way to Win by myself. I had two co-founders. I didn't build Way to Win because I had two co-founders. It was because we had, a membership of women donors who had our back. And we didn't just get this far because we had a few women donors say, I like what you're doing. Let's keep doing more of that. We had people like you say, oh, your work is important. And we all sort of created ladders for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, and maybe this is too much for this particular podcast, but it feels to me like as we got closer to 24, maybe because we were just deeper in the work, so many of us stepped into leadership in the 2016, 2017 era when Trump first was elected. And maybe, we were building, we created ladders for each other, but then we were so into the work. Oh, it was the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
we lost some of those connections.
We did.
And it felt to me going into 24 that we were all kind of in our own arenas,
mm-hmm.
fighting our own battles,
mm-hmm.
rather than trying to figure out, wait, you're up against that too? What if we join together? Oh, you're hearing that too? Let's do something together
mm-hmm.
to fight that force. And so I wanted to kind of get back in the arena with other
mm-hmm.
warriors so that I'm not doing it alone.
Oh my goodness. I 100% resonate with what you said because I took over leading our merge in February 2020, right before the pandemic. So I was not able to get my oxytocin from the other women leaders. It was definitely me at home, being a new executive, figuring out how to run the organization through an unprecedented pandemic.
Yeah, that's wild.
Just so much. And I just shared an article in our leadership team Signal chat about geese and how geese work together. And when they fly together, they're 71% stronger than if they flew alone. It was just fabulous, like how they think and how they rotate in and out when the leader is tired. And if one of them falls down, two more will fall down to protect it. And it was just so beautiful. And for me, just really resonated with what we need during this time. Because even what you said about Me Too, listeners, it is very real. There have been reporters who have asked women organizational leaders, like, oh, is this manosphere, is him getting elected, the backlash to Me Too? And what they're really asking is, did you all really have to stop letting certain white men behave badly because you all did that? Now this is what we have. And it is complete BS.
Yeah.
It is complete BS. We have to be real. That is what they are saying is we were just supposed to sit down, shut up, and continue to take it and let the men lead. And no, we're not doing that. We're going to continue to stand up. No matter what governors want to do podcasts with men who don't even think we should be having this conversation right now, who don't think we should have our own podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the interesting thing. Like, I think a reasonable human can look at the data, look at the results and realize, just in the same way you and I were reflecting during the pandemic, our circles got smaller. They just did. They did for everybody in the country. Mm-hmm. And we are learning that people went online, like we all did, and found new communities. And some people fell into rabbit holes of misinformation. And I think we can reasonably say the manosphere sucked in certain fragments of the electorate, and that those people are confused and they are upset. And I don't think that means let's just go tap the men responsible for the architecture of pushing men into misogyny to suddenly talk to those people. Mm-hmm. I think it means creating new moral entry points for young men to see themselves as part of our movement too. And so, it's not a either or, like we need to lean in to making our tent bigger and talking to more people. Sure. But you don't do that by lifting up the actual architects of the worst ideas possible that hearken to Nazism. You just don't.
100%. And I was having a conversation with my friends and I was like, I want to get to the point where Coach Walls is the definition of masculinity, or Russell Wilson is the definition of masculinity.
Right.
That is what we want. It does not have to be this stereotypical misogyny. And, I saw a photo on Instagram the other day where a guy had on the back of his truck, "Make women property again."
Oh my God.
That is where so many of them are at. They're just bold with it too. We got to talk about that. They're not hiding any of it anymore. And there is the opportunity to have the bigger tent, especially for our men who do love women, and want to see them have their power seats at the table, control their bodies. So I know that can happen. That's on the men to do too. Like we need y'all out there. It's not on us women, but as much as I'm, a realist, I'm an optimist.
Persist can inspire the white dudes for Harris to keep it up.
Yes, we know Ross is, shout out to my buddy Ross, who created White Dudes for Harris, like another great white dude. There's so many there. And that was my favorite part of the White Dudes Coalition, is seeing all of these men unapologetically show up for a woman, but a Black and Indian woman. I think that pissed a lot of these guys off too.
Yeah, it really did. Turns out Persist was timely. And, I think at the end of the day, like, we need to find the ways to stay connected at a big, broad national level, because these fights are federal. And on the other hand, figure out how to root the work really deeply in our place, in what, in our spheres of control, and work at that parallel function. I know it sounds hard or a little bit science fiction as I say words like parallel function, but I believe it's possible. I believe that we will have more convening spaces like Persist at the national level, where we can cross-pollinate ideas, get the oxytocin, and then come back and keep marching in our hometowns.
Yes, we will. Because one thing you and I know, Tori, is that we can do hard things.
We can. We have.
We have. Tori, I just always enjoy talking to you. I appreciate your support of me, the Brown girls listening to this podcast, and just everything that you do. So as we close out, I just want to have you give our listeners a main takeaway to stay sane and to survive and thrive during this time, and let us know how they can support Way to Win.
Okay. So my main takeaway after talking with you is, again, thank you for the thanks you gave me, but I'm still sitting with the death and rebirth. So my takeaway and my suggestion to all the people watching is to just remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. There are times you're going to run really hard and fast, and it's going to be painful. Mm-hmm. And there's times you can rest, and it is okay to take that rest, because we need to be in this for the long haul. And then you can support Way to Win by following us on Blue Sky, Way to Win Action Fund, by checking out our website. Our Way to Lead is our PAC, where we aggregate a lot of our grassroots money. And so if you feel compelled to support some of this research work, you can go to the waytolead.us website and support there. Thank you.
Awesome. Tori, thank you again. Thank you to all of our listeners. I hope that you really enjoyed this special podcast episode that we were able to bring you about our Persist event in New York. And find your local community to get involved in. Community, in my opinion, is the word for 2025, and it's what's going to get us through these next 4 years. There were so many powerful women at the event, from community organizers to influencers to leaders of organizations like Way to Win and Planned Parenthood. I actually want to give the listeners a feel for what it was like in the room. We're going to leave you with some inspiring words from a few of the amazing women in attendance.
Caroline Pompisi, I'm a co-founder of Persist. I am so excited for tonight. Tonight is the inaugural convening of Persist, which is a women's network. We're building connections between women and our allies. We're extremely excited to be here at Diane Von Furstenberg Studios. We've got a ton of incredible women in the room, and we are ready to go for a great night.
So my name is Myra Caesar. I am the former special assistant to the president and director of White House personnel. So I was on the Biden-Harris campaign team as well as in the White House with both. And of course, the loss in November was devastating for all of us, and especially all of us in the White House with her. And so tonight is very important. It is a testament to the power of women, and that no matter how much we may get knocked down, we can get back up and we can do it together in community with each other, find out what we need to do so that the next woman who runs for president is successful.
My name is Dominique Sharpton. I'm very passionate about social justice and how women continue to show up in spaces and elevate our voices. I feel like everyone's voice is important, and having these types of conversations where different women from different walks of life can come together and really explore our passions to create our purpose. So that's why I'm here. And I'm also interested in connecting and networking with other women like myself who are out here doing the work and really passionate about making change.
My name is Emily Anadu. I am the founder of a community platform called The Layout, which exists to center joy. Being in rooms like this, where I see people like Anna Navarro, that's showing that even like I'm a Democrat, for her as a Republican, that there are certain things that it doesn't matter if you're on the left, right, center, that should just be human issues. We should be thinking about how we want a better society, again, regardless of which side of everything you fall on. To me, there are some universal truths. And so for me, being in this room is about being with people who understand that.
My name is Holly Holiday. I'm the president of Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote. And I think this night and nights like it are important because it celebrates and acknowledges the power of women. And too often, our voices are silenced, are marginalized, and we really only have ourselves to remind us of how influential and powerful that we are. And so why not do it with cocktails?
Soy Alejandra Soto de Planned Parenthood. Atravesamos por un momento súper clave en nuestro país, donde los políticos quieren decirnos cuáles decisiones de salud reproductiva podemos o no podemos tomar. Así es que importantísimo que todo mundo estemos prestando atención en defensa de la libertad reproductiva. And now in English. Okay. I'm Alejandra Soto from Planned Parenthood. We are literally at a crossroads in our country where politicians want to tell us what we can and cannot do when it comes to our own reproductive health. So it's incredibly important that all of us, united, fight against any kind of politician that wants to take away reproductive freedom from us.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nola Haynes. I am a very proud Persist member from the very beginning, all the way back from Harris for Women. And what am I doing here today? So I'm here for this amazing event today and Project 107, which is my baby, which is kind of, I guess, a documentary documenting the women who were part of the historic 107 days of the Harris campaign. It's still very surreal, but I support whatever Rhonda Fox wants to do. I love A'shanti down. A'shanti was one of the people we interviewed, and I'm just excited to see where we're going to go and where we're going to take this. So I'm here for it all. I'm here for the ride.
This is Miguel Johnson. I'm the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood, Federation of America, and the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. And I am here because, you know what, in this moment, in these like incredibly dark times, these unprecedented times, being around incredibly powerful women, being around the spirit of resistance and persistence and fierceness and badassery is actually what fuels me. That's what gives me hope. So I came here to vibe, to hear some marching orders, to give some marching orders, to be in community, and to be like, okay, let's fucking go.
Hi, my name is Ashley Jackson, and I feel so energized being here in this room tonight. I mean, part of what I was really talking about was exactly this. Beating the algorithm is us gathering together and cultivating this energy and this in-person dialogue, and Gloria said it best. This is the oxytocin release. This is where we can really drive movement building and forward movement and change. So I'm just really proud to be among all these incredible women and honored that I was even invited.
Hi, my name is Cassidy Huff, and I am a disabled disability rights activist, best-selling author, content creator, and actress. And I'm really honored to be here. I think that it's going to help a lot of people, form connections and be able, for all of us to be able to just stay in community and to really support each other through this really difficult time.
So my name's Sari Beth Rosenberg. I am a member of Persist, proud member of Persist. My main line of work is I'm a high school teacher, U.S. history, New York City Public School, and I'm also a co-founder of Teachers Unified to End Gun Violence. As a content creator at the DNC, I basically post about politics all day when I'm not teaching, and a number of other things. And my reaction tonight is I feel energized. I think the more we come together in person, using our online networks to get us together, I think we're going to really, we can actually maybe beat fascism, which if you asked me this morning, I was feeling pretty glum. Like, I think we're all feeling pretty disheartened, but tonight made me feel more hopeful.
My name is Jane Mattingly, and I'm here today because I was a part of Disabled Voters for Harris, but I'm also here promoting my book, This is Body Grief, Making Peace with the Loss That Comes with Living in a Body. Really, that is, for me, persisting through the loss of bodily autonomy, which I think is really universal right now. And I think when we talk about persisting, it's really about being able to grieve and rest so that we can move forward. And I think it's really scary to do that. And like the speakers today talked about, when we're not grieving, we are more of a soldier to the capitalist society and this administration. And so when we can rest and connect to our bodies and take a second, we can then be in more community, and we can lean into things like this and become, a part of women's coalitions and things like that and be healed.